Hey, what's up guys? My name is William. You're welcome once again to my YouTube channel. In this video today, I'm going to talk about three things that make teaching ESL a really difficult thing. You didn't think it was difficult, did you? Okay, let's take it from the top. So the first thing that I really want to talk about is within the classroom. And within the classroom, this has to do with class control. No one can actually do a good job when class control is not really good. And this is one of the problems that all ESL teachers face, or even all teachers in general. Sometimes I wonder if this was the kind of hard time I actually gave my teachers in school because sometimes you realize that you're trying to do your best, you're trying to push and you're trying to give everything you can, but class control is just not that good. Sometimes some kids just go overboard with being stubborn. Some kids just go overboard with giving you a hard time. Some kids just talk. Some kids just run around. Whenever you actually start a particular game, some kids just snowball it into something else and they just mess the whole thing up. So sometimes teaching ESL is a really difficult thing. It's a really difficult task, especially because of class control. If you're lucky enough and you have a Chinese teacher, or if you have a local dialect teacher in your classroom, it makes things so much better. It makes things so much easier. And if the person is really good, oh, I mean, you're good. But the problem also is that sometimes I find that the teachers themselves don't exactly know what to do during the English lesson, or they don't know exactly how to control the kids. So either you're going to have to help do some training with them to condition them, to let them know what to do during an English lesson and how to help you control the class, or administration is going to have to do that for you. And technically, it's administration's job. So yeah. In my case, in my situation, it is it's not my job, but I kind of help do that. So one of the things you're gonna have to do is to make sure the class teacher actually can help, and you're actually also gonna have to up yourself, up your skills, up your your local dialect a little. You're gonna have to learn the language of the kids in order to be able to pass in a few things, a few words, if you do a little bit of control yourself to help make the class better. So that's the first one. The second thing that makes teaching ESL more difficult is when parents do not help. Look, language, everyone usually starts learning their language from home. Language is usually, it starts from home. But in this case, usually ESLs, a lot of the parents, majority of the parents, in my experience, actually do not help the kids from home. So, for example, you teach them a couple of words, you teach them a couple of sentences, and they go back home and they come back the same. For the parents, sometimes it's just review. I mean, some parents just they do indeed review with the kids, and that is because we require them to. But just that one time review with the kids is technically not enough. It has to be a lot of times. It's either the parents are going to have to pitch in a little, or you, the teacher, you are going to have to teach that one lesson many times in order for the kids to be able to remember it. And it would be so much easier if parents could actually just pitch in and help the whole process. You know what I find to be the interesting thing sometimes is that the parents actually do not know what to do. So sometimes, as much as you'd want to blame the parents and say it's their fault for all this, sometimes the issue also is that the parents do not know exactly how to help. And it's not like it's their language anyway. So they do not know exactly what to do about it. So this is one of the issues. You're going to have to interact with parents. You're going to have to constantly send messages to parents, send videos, send materials to parents that they could help push to the kids in order to help the process, in order to bump things up. Because I find that if parents pitch in and they pitch in very well, the process becomes so much simpler, and simpler in the sense that that simplicity actually boosts things and you're able to teach the kids much more. Yeah, that's number 3. I had a child once. I had one student who was called Sophia, who was called Sophia, however you pronounce it. And Sophia's mother always would review with the child, will help her with the spelling, will help her with the writing, will help her with the reading, will send a video review and all that. So Sophia was actually the best student in terms of English, and she's actually the best student I've taught up until now. And her progress was so much, it was just spectacular. It's so much better, and it just helps the kids so much if parents would just actually pitch in. The final thing that I want to talk about is, and this is quite a debatable thing, and it's quite an interesting thing, because one of the things that I've actually realized and I've come across is that there's an activation period. I don't want, yes, I think there's a learning scope, there's a learning curve when you're learning a language. And there are notches up on the road where you just hit that curve and you realize that things have changed a little bit. I did come across this when I was learning to speak Chinese myself. What did you was actually the young. When I was learning to speak Chinese, it was the same. And you realize that sometimes things are difficult until you hit a particular point. And then there's a sudden boost, and then things become simpler. And then it goes on, you snowball till you hit a point and it becomes difficult and you have to hit that curve again. So I do realize that in the language learning process, in teaching the kids how to speak English, teaching ESL, you realize that sometimes some kids haven't hit that activation point. And I mean the first one that generate that level of interest that tells the child that English is a language. It's not just a school thing. English is something that that you can become interested in. English is something that you could love, you could do. That has to be done on a daily basis. That when the teacher is in class, you have to treat this thing like it's not just a subject, but the teacher is actually trying to teach you something for every day. There's that activation point that the child has to get to before they become serious with learning the language or learning English. And until you hit that point, you just have to keep throwing things at the child. A lot of them will be hit and miss. A lot of them will be just the child just following whatever you teach. So the child learns apple. Okay, teacher says apple, the child says apple. Teacher says banana, the child just says the banana for you. Teacher says mango, whatever the teacher says, okay? And you find that maybe a lot of times they learn it and they forget it, and you ask and they don't seem to care until you get to that point where they 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 understand, they know a lot of words. I think this activation point can be hit faster when the children actually learn a lot. So for example, when they get a grasp on the sound pattern, it pushes them further to that point, closer to that turning point. When they learn a lot of words, it pushes them closer. When they're able to bond in some way with the English teacher or with their English teacher, you realize that it also pushes them a little closer. So these are some of the things that I find that it's able to help the kids get a little closer to that activation stage or the activation point where they pay attention to you and they want to learn whatever you have to teach. I've seen this many times with many kids. So I hope these 3 things that I've talked about today are some things that will be helpful to you, would hopefully help you in your teaching of ESL. Thank you very much for listening and for watching this one. If this video was helpful to you, you know what to do. Subscribe. If you haven't already, hit the bell notification button so that if I post new videos, you get it. And also hit the like button because it helps me and it helps push this video further so that other people who it could be useful to as well may watch the video. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one. As always, love and peace.